I never thought my proposal would end with laughter instead of tears of joy. After 3 years with Stephanie, I spent months designing our dream island home, a sustainable paradise for our future together. When I got down on one knee at our anniversary dinner, she laughed and said she had been waiting for the right moment to break up. Little did she know what she was walking away from. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe to hear how she went from laughing at my proposal to screaming at my island doorstep just days later. I met Stephanie at a charity gala in Chicago 3 years ago. The connection was immediate and electric. As an architect specializing in sustainable design, I was there representing my firm that had donated services to a community center project. Stephanie worked in marketing for a luxury brand and had this captivating confidence that drew me in from across the room. Her dark hair cascaded over her shoulders as she laughed at something someone said, and I found myself walking over before I even realized what I was doing. "That sculpture is actually structurally unsound," I said, pointing to the modern art piece she had been admiring. It was a terrible opening line, but somehow it worked. She raised an eyebrow, amused rather than offended. "Are you an art critic, or just trying to impress me with random knowledge?" she challenged. "Architect. Dwight Parker." I extended my hand, and I could redesign that to actually stand without those hidden support wires. That night turned into morning as we talked about everything from sustainable architecture to her dreams of traveling the world. By our third date, I was already falling hard. Stephanie was ambitious, passionate, and seemed to appreciate my vision of creating homes that worked with nature rather than against it. For 3 years, we built what I thought was the perfect relationship. We traveled to Costa Rica, Japan, and Italy, exploring architecture and culture. We moved in together after a year, sharing a modern apartment in the city that she decorated with expensive furniture and art pieces that sometimes made me wince at the price tags. But I wanted her to be happy, and her taste was admirable, even if sometimes extravagant. Looking back, the red flags were there, waving frantically in my peripheral vision while I stubbornly stared straight ahead at the future I imagined. Stephanie would make small comments about my work, questioning why I turned down higher-paying corporate projects in favor of sustainable residential designs or community buildings. "You could be designing skyscrapers by now," she would say, a slight edge to her voice that I chose to interpret as encouragement rather than criticism. Her Instagram following grew as she posted our travels and lifestyle. I noticed how she would sometimes stage our meals or rearrange furniture for the perfect shot. It seemed harmless then. What bothered me more was how she would compare our life to her college friend Amanda, whose husband had just bought them a vacation home in Aspen, or her colleague Jackson, who surprised his wife with a new luxury car for her birthday. "We have everything we need," I would tell her, "and we are saving for our future." That future began taking shape in my mind about a year before the proposal. I had inherited a small private island from my grandfather in the Great Lakes. Most considered it too remote and impractical to develop, but I saw the potential. Using my savings and working weekends and evenings, I began designing and building our dream home on that island. A completely sustainable modern masterpiece that would showcase everything I believed in professionally while giving us a sanctuary away from the city. I kept the project a secret from Stephanie, planning to reveal it as part of my proposal. The island was just a 40-minute boat ride from the mainland, accessible enough for commuting when necessary but private enough to feel like our own world. I designed a 3,000-square-foot home with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the water's solar panels, rainwater collection systems, a greenhouse, and every luxury amenity she could want. The house seemed to emerge from the natural rock of the island, with native gardens surrounding it and a private dock. My parents helped fund parts of the construction as they believed in my vision and adored Stephanie. My brother Thomas spent countless weekends helping me build, along with a small crew of trusted contractors who were excited to work on such an innovative project. The home was featured in several architecture blogs even before completion, though I asked them not to use my name until after the proposal. As our third anniversary approached, the island home was nearly complete. I had timed everything perfectly, planning to propose at dinner, and then whisk her away the next morning to see our future home. I had even arranged for her favorite photographer friend to be waiting on the island to capture her reaction. I bought a ring that cost 3 months of my salary, a princess-cut diamond on a platinum band that her sister assured me she would love. I rehearsed my speech, booked her favorite restaurant, and even arranged for both our families to be waiting at a nearby table to celebrate with us after she said yes. That was the plan anyway. The night of our anniversary started perfectly. I made reservations at Oriole, an exclusive restaurant overlooking the city that required booking months in advance. Stephanie looked stunning in a deep blue dress, her hair styled in elegant waves. She seemed in good spirits as we reminisced about how we met and our favorite memories together. "Remember that little beach in Costa Rica where we watched the sunset?" I asked, reaching for her hand across the table. Of course she smiled, though something flickered in her eyes. Though I still wish we had stayed at the luxury resort instead of that eco-lodge. I laughed it off, too nervous about what was coming to register the comment as anything significant. The waiter brought our dessert, a chocolate soufflé that we always shared. As planned, the ring box was presented alongside it on a small silver tray with rose petals. My heart hammered against my ribs as I took the box and moved to one knee beside her chair. Several diners nearby noticed smiling in anticipation of the romantic moment. "Stephanie," I began, my voice steady, despite my nerves. "These past 3 years have been the greatest of my life. You challenge me, inspire me, and make me want to build a better world for us to share. I have created something special for our future, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you." I opened the ring box, revealing the diamond sparkling under the restaurant lights. "Will you marry me?" There was a moment of silence, and then something I never expected happened. She laughed. Not a nervous laugh or one of surprise and joy. It was a cold, almost pitying laugh that made my blood run cold. "Oh, Dwight," she said, her voice loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "I have been waiting for a good moment to break up for months now. I guess this makes it easier to get it all out at once." I stayed frozen on one knee, the ring box still open in my hand, unable to process what was happening. "You cannot be serious." I finally managed my voice barely above a whisper. "I am completely serious," she continued, seemingly oblivious to the shocked expressions of diners around us. "We want different things. You and your sustainable living obsession, your modest lifestyle despite having the talent to be so much more successful." She took a sip of her champagne casually. "Did you really think I would marry someone who wants to live like a hermit on some island?" I slowly rose to my feet, feeling as though the floor was shifting beneath me. "How do you know about the island?" I asked, confusion mixing with the crushing pain in my chest. She waved her hand dismissively. "Your brother mentioned something about a project there. Sounded dreadful and isolated." The truth spilled out then like a dam breaking. She had been seeing someone else for the past 6 months. A real estate developer named Richard, who owned properties across the country and had promised to take her to Paris next month. "He understands ambition," she said, gathering her purse as if we were simply concluding a business meeting. "And he would never expect me to live in some experimental eco-house in the middle of nowhere." I looked toward the back of the restaurant, where both our families were supposed to be waiting to celebrate. The table was empty. Had they heard somehow? Had someone warned them? "I told them not to come," Stephanie said, following my gaze. "I called your mother this morning and said you had changed the plans. I figured it would be easier this way." The drive home was a blur of streetlights and silence. Stephanie had called a car service, leaving me alone with a ring that cost more than my first car and a shattered vision of the future. I drove to my brother's house instead of returning to the apartment. Stephanie and I shared, unable to face the space filled with our mingled possessions. Thomas opened the door with one look at my face and pulled me into a hug without a word. I broke down completely then, the pain finally overwhelming the shock. The next few days passed in a fog of grief and confusion. I stayed in Thomas's guest room, ignoring calls and messages, except for my closest family. It was Thomas who showed me Stephanie's Instagram post 2 days after the proposal. A picture of her with Richard on what appeared to be a yacht, her hand sporting a much larger diamond than the one I had offered. The caption read, "Upgraded in every way. Sometimes you have to know your worth and not settle for less. Number, level up. Number blessed." The comment section was filled with congratulations, including from several people I had considered friends. One comment from her friend Brittany particularly stung. "So glad you didn't end up on that weird island with the eco-warrior. You deserve luxury, not composting toilets." That comment led to a painful discovery. Several of our mutual friends had known about her relationship with Richard. Some had even met him at events Stephanie attended, while claiming to be working late. The betrayal extended far beyond just her. Thomas convinced me to check my email, where I found a message from our apartment building. Stephanie had already arranged to move her things out and had transferred the lease solely to my name, all while I had been in seclusion. She had efficiently excised me from her life within days. I also found a message from one of the architecture blogs that had featured the island home. They wanted to do a full spread now that the project was nearing completion, calling it potentially groundbreaking in sustainable luxury design. The irony was almost too much to bear. After a week of alternating between numbness and crushing pain, I made a decision. I would return to the island, the one place that still represented my uncorrupted vision. The home that was supposed to be the beginning of a new chapter would instead become my sanctuary for healing. My brother drove me to the marina and helped load supplies onto my boat. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "You can stay with me as long as you need." "I need to be there," I said simply. "It is the only thing that still makes sense." The island was beautiful in early summer wildflowers, dotting the natural landscape I had been careful to preserve during construction. The house stood just as I had envisioned it, rising from the rock like it had grown there naturally, the large windows, reflecting the clouds and water. Inside, everything was ready for a life that would now never happen. The furniture I had carefully selected, the kitchen I had designed. Knowing Stephanie loved to cook for guests, the master bathroom, with a soaking tub overlooking a private garden. I spent the first day walking through each room, allowing myself to feel the full weight of the loss. Then I got to work. I finished the remaining construction details, installed the last of the technology systems, and planted the vegetable garden. Physical labor helped quiet my mind during the day, while evenings were spent sitting on the deck, watching the sunset with a scotch in hand, allowing the tears to come when they needed to. 2 weeks into my self-imposed isolation, my phone buzzed with a notification. The architecture blog had published their feature on the island home with drone footage that showed its integration into the natural environment and detailed descriptions of its sustainable systems. I had given the interview before the proposal, talking excitedly about my vision for combining luxury and sustainability. Reading it now felt like hearing from a different person, someone optimistic and unbroken. The article went viral within the architecture community, then spread to mainstream design publications and environmental websites. Suddenly, my secluded project was being hailed as a visionary approach to luxury living with minimal environmental impact. My email filled with interview requests and potential clients interested in similar designs. 3 days after the article went viral, the first message from Stephanie appeared on my phone. "Just saw the article about your island project. Call me. We should talk." I deleted it without responding. 2 more messages followed that day, each more insistent than the last. By the next morning, she was calling repeatedly. I blocked her number. She switched to email the subject lines, growing increasingly desperate. "We need to talk," became, "Please give me another chance." And finally, that was supposed to be OUR house. Through a mutual friend who remained loyal to me, I learned that Richard had ended things with Stephanie after discovering she had been exaggerating her connections in the design world. He was developing a luxury eco-resort and had partly been interested in her for professional connections she did not actually have. I ignored all attempts at contact and focused on responding to legitimate professional opportunities that were suddenly abundant. A major sustainability magazine wanted to do a cover story. A documentary filmmaker was interested in featuring the house in a series about innovative architecture, and several wealthy clients were requesting consultations for similar projects around the country. I agreed to the magazine interview, scheduling it for the following week at the island. The morning before the interview crew was set to arrive, I was having coffee on my deck when I heard the sound of an approaching boat. Assuming it was the advance team arriving early, I walked down to the dock to greet them. Instead, I found Stephanie standing there as the small water taxi that had brought her pulled away. She wore an expensive sundress and oversized sunglasses, looking like she was prepared for a photo shoot rather than a confrontation. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my distance at the end of the dock. "This place is incredible, Dwight," she said, removing her sunglasses and looking up at the house with obvious awe. "The pictures do not do it justice. Why did you not tell me what you were building here? It was supposed to be a surprise, I said flatly. Part of the proposal you laughed at. She had the decency to look embarrassed for a moment before recovering. You made a mistake. A huge mistake. Richard was nothing but a shallow distraction. What we had was real. What we had was a lie. I corrected her. You were seeing him for months while I was here building our future. She stepped toward me, her eyes filling with calculated tears. I was confused, afraid of committing, but seeing what you have created here, understanding your vision now. She gestured to the house. This is exactly the kind of unique statement I wanted. We could be a power couple in the sustainable design world. My marketing expertise with your architectural vision. Your marketing expertise, I repeated, unable to hide my disbelief. You mocked this project, called it a weird island with composting toilets. Her expression changed, surprise flashing across her features. You saw that comment? I saw everything, Stephanie. The Instagram post about upgrading the comments from friends who knew you were cheating. Her strategy shifted visibly, the tears disappearing as quickly as they had appeared. Fine. Richard dumped me. Happy. But I realized what I gave up. This place must be worth millions now that it is getting all this attention. Her voice rose as she became more agitated. This was supposed to be my house too. You built it for us. I built it for the person I thought you were. I replied calmly. That person does not exist. You cannot just keep this all for yourself. She shouted, her composure completely gone now. I put up with your sustainable obsession for 3 years. I deserve some of the success. I heard another boat approaching and turned to see the magazine crew arriving, along with 2 other boats containing clients. I had agreed to give tours to after the interview. Perfect timing. You need to leave, I said firmly. I have important meetings today. I am not going anywhere until we work this out. She screamed, her voice echoing across the water. This is my house too. You cannot just shut me out of your success. The boats were close enough now that the passengers could clearly hear her tirade. I recognized several influential people in sustainability circles, including a famous actress known for environmental activism, who was considering hiring me to design her new home. Thomas, who had come to help with the tours, appeared on the path from the house. Assessing the situation immediately, he approached with security from the magazine crew. Miss Thompson, he said formally, you are trespassing on private property. These gentlemen will escort you back to the mainland. Do you know who I am? She demanded of the security personnel. I am his fiancée. This is my home. Ex-girlfriend, actually, I corrected. As you made very clear at Oriole 3 weeks ago. The security team gently but firmly escorted her to their boat, as she continued to make a scene shouting about betrayal and stolen opportunities. The magazine crew and potential clients watched with a mixture of embarrassment and fascination. As the boat with Stephanie pulled away, the actress who had arrived for the tour approached me. Well, she said with a knowing smile, I think I just got all the confirmation I need about your character. Anyone who inspires that level of regret must be doing something right. The following year transformed my life and perspective in ways I never could have anticipated that painful night at Oriole. The island home became the cornerstone of my architectural portfolio, leading to a series of high-profile sustainable projects across the country. I expanded my firm, bringing on talented architects who shared my vision and values. The healing process was neither quick nor linear. There were still nights I would wake up with a hollow ache in my chest, questioning how I could have been so wrong about someone I thought I knew completely. But those moments became less frequent as I focused on rebuilding my life around authentic connections and meaningful work. The universe has a way of clearing your path when you are headed in the wrong direction, my mother said when she visited the island, a month after the Stephanie incident. Sometimes the most painful removals are the most necessary. I came to see the truth in her words. Had Stephanie said yes, we would have eventually faced the same fundamental incompatibility. Better to have the illusion shattered before making a legal commitment, before potentially bringing children into a fundamentally mismatched relationship. Through my work, I began meeting people who valued authenticity over appearances and purpose over status. 6 months after the breakup, I met Emma at a sustainable building conference. A marine biologist studying the impact of climate change on Great Lakes ecosystems, she had a genuine passion for the environment that aligned naturally with my design philosophy. Our connection developed slowly and organically, built on mutual respect and shared values, rather than the intoxicating but ultimately hollow attraction I had experienced with Stephanie. When Emma first visited the island, she spent more time exploring the native plants and examining the water filtration system than taking selfies for social media. "This place feels like a conversation between architecture and nature," she said, standing on the shore at sunset. Not an imposition, but a dialogue. Her observation crystallized what I had been trying to achieve all along, but had never articulated so precisely. It was the first moment I felt truly seen for my vision rather than the status or lifestyle it might provide. The professional recognition and success that followed the viral spread of my island home design taught me another valuable lesson. My most authentic work, the project I created from my deepest values without compromise, was what finally earned me the recognition that Stephanie had always pushed me to chase through more conventional means. I had spent 3 years trying to balance my principles with her expectations, creating a watered-down version of myself in the process. Now, standing firmly in my truth, I found success beyond what either of us had imagined possible. The irony was not lost on me that the very project she mocked as a hermit island was featured in Architectural Digest and led to a waiting list of clients eager to pay premium prices for sustainable luxury designs. Through mutual friends, I occasionally heard updates about Stephanie. She had moved to Los Angeles, rebranding herself as a sustainability marketing consultant in a transparent attempt to capitalize on the growing trend. Her Instagram still showcased a carefully curated life of apparent luxury and exclusivity, but those who knew her reported a restless dissatisfaction beneath the glossy surface. I wished her no ill will. The pain she caused had ultimately guided me toward a more authentic life. I hoped she would eventually find what she was looking for, though I suspected it would require facing truths about herself she seemed determined to avoid. A year to the day after the failed proposal, I hosted a gathering at the island home. Friends, family, and colleagues who had supported me through the darkest period came together to celebrate not just my professional success, but the personal growth it represented. Standing on the deck overlooking the water, watching people I truly cared about enjoying the space I had created, I felt a sense of peace and gratitude that no external validation could provide. The home that was meant to be the beginning of one chapter had instead become the foundation of an entirely different and more fulfilling story. Have you ever experienced a painful rejection that eventually led to something better? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Sometimes our greatest disappointments clear the path for our greatest blessings. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more personal journeys of growth through adversity. And consider sharing this video with someone who might be struggling with rejection or betrayal right now. They might need the reminder that better things often wait on the other side of pain. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that your most authentic path is always the right one, even when it feels the loneliest.